Emmanuel Macron has been branded arrogant by Polish Prime Minister Beata Szydło as she warned the Frenchman he will not rule Europe. "I advise the president that he should focus on the affairs of his own country. Perhaps he may be able to achieve the same economic results and the same level of security for French citizens as those guaranteed by Poland." Mr. Macron has risked falling out with his European allies after sensationally claiming the EU risks collapse unless the bloc's cheap labor rule is overhauled. Under current legislation, firms are able to send temporary workers from low-wage countries to richer nations without having to pay their local social charges, but the French president is calling for changes and is using fears about the possible collapse of the Brussels bloc to scare EU members into backing his proposals. Earlier today, Mr. Macron told reporters in Bulgaria, "Europe is a region created on the basis of values, a relationship with democracy and public freedoms which Poland is today in conflict with. In no way will the decision by a country that has decided to isolate itself in the workings of Europe jeopardize the finding of an ambitious compromise. Poland is not defining Europe's future today, and nor will it define the Europe of tomorrow." In response, Poland's foreign minister Witold Waszczykowski said his country is no being isolated and urged Macron to follow developments in Central Europe more closely. He said, "We are hosting an important meeting today, so President Macron is not following carefully the news. Doesn't know what is happening in this part of Europe. But this happens sometimes. The French economy is not at the moment able to compete with the vibrant economies of many European countries, including Poland. This is because French workers have enormous social benefits. The working week for many French workers is 5 working days. Bulgaria has also waded into the row, urging France to end its controversial calls for labor regulations across the bloc to be overhauled. The country's Prime Minister Boyko Borisov today said open confrontation between EU member states is damaging. He said Poland and Hungary, who frequently clash with France and Germany, are not only our friends but part of the EU. And Mr. Borisov said rather than threaten Poland, France should listen to all sides and find a solution. Poland and the EU have clashed repeatedly in recent months after the Brussels bloc took issue with Polish government plans to overhaul the Supreme Court last month. Jarosław Kaczynski, the chairman of the ruling Law and Justice Party, PiS, declared the reforms will go ahead despite the president's veto on local television. President Andrzej Duda's surprise announcement to veto the plans saw him bow down to EU pressure amid huge protests across Poland's major cities. 00 Fast News source of news.